Have you ever poured your heart and soul into achieving something that once seemed impossible, only to realize the person you trusted most is the one who dims that joy? Madison stood silently in front of the mirror, fingers gently tracing the curves she had reclaimed after nearly a year of relentless effort. Over 40 pounds of struggle had finally left her body, leaving behind a fit, strong silhouette and a confident gaze she had once only dared to imagine. Tonight's gathering with her friends wasn't just a reunion, it was the moment she longed to hear the congratulations she truly deserved. But somewhere beneath the laughter and cheerful chatter, a silent pang of envy was waiting, poised to pierce her heart, turning this hard-won victory into one of the most unforgettable and bittersweet memories of the year. Madison gently closed her bedroom door and stood before the full-length mirror, the reflection capturing every curve and contour she had worked so hard to reclaim. Just seeing herself in the new dress made her heart race, as if it wanted to leap right out of her chest. This feeling, a heady mix of happiness and nervous anticipation, was something Madison had never thought she would experience. Less than a year ago, every glance in the mirror revealed only a heavy-set girl, shoulders weighed down by sadness and self-doubt. She remembered those haunting days all too clearly. Walking down the street, she could always feel the judgmental eyes on her. Every snicker or giggle from behind felt like a knife slicing through her chest. She had endured countless cruel jokes about her weight and appearance, comments that seemed harmless to others but sent her curling up alone in bed at night, wrapped tightly in blankets, tears streaming silently. The shadow of shame and insecurity clung to her relentlessly, pushing her to withdraw from invitations, avoid friends she once held dear, and retreat further into herself. Yet, ironically, those very barbs became the spark that ignited her transformation. Madison refused to live in fear every time someone looked her way. She longed to feel confident and happy in her own body. So she embarked on a grueling journey of self-discipline, early mornings filled with structured routines, meticulously planned meals, consistent workouts, logging every meal, every glass of water, every mile run. No diet pills, no shortcuts, no surgery, only relentless effort, willpower, and countless sweat-drenched days. Every time she resisted a sugary treat, every time her muscles burned until she wanted to cry, she reminded herself, I can do this. I deserve a healthy body and a free spirit. Day by day, the weight gradually came off. Each inch lost around her waist became proof of her tireless perseverance. Over 40 pounds, once an unimaginable number, now belonged to the past. Madison felt not only physically lighter, but mentally liberated. She had learned to love her body, not because she was thinner, but because it was the product of her dedication, of choice, of a life rebuilt from the ground up. Tonight, slipping into the new dress that hugged her figure perfectly, she could almost feel the seams applauding her journey. She twirled slowly, letting the fabric glide with her movements, and smiled a radiant smile born from sweat, tears, and emotional scars endured, allowing her to finally hold her head high. This reunion with her friends, after months apart, had suddenly become a milestone, not just a casual get-together. Madison's excitement was nearly palpable. She didn't crave applause or excessive praise, only a few proud glances, a handful of simple congratulations. This evening was more than a social event, this opportunity to share her story, a story of self-mastery, extraordinary determination, and a girl who had reclaimed herself after enduring long stretches of pain and judgment. The familiar cafe glowed under soft yellow lights, the aroma of coffee and fresh pastries filling the air. Madison pushed the door open, her heart fluttering with excitement as she spotted her friends gathered around their usual table by the window. Sophie, Claire, Jake, and Harper were laughing and chatting animatedly, the warmth of friendship wrapping the space like it always had except tonight. Madison carried a secret she was proud to share. The moment she stepped closer, all eyes turned to her, and the group froze for a split second. "Oh my gosh. Mad, is that really you?" Sophie exclaimed, her eyes wide with disbelief. "You look amazing," Claire added, her hands lightly brushing Madison's shoulder in excitement. Jake laughed heartily. "This is hands down the glope of the year. Seriously, call it the ultimate upgrade." Compliments poured in, making Madison blush slightly, though she couldn't hide her radiant smile. After months of hard work, she had imagined this very moment being looked at with admiration instead of judgment. All except Harper, who maintained a polite, faint smile while stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. As the group buzzed with excitement, Harper leaned back, a glint of pride in her eyes. "Well, I've got some news too. I got a raise at work, and my boss just handed me a big new project. Feels great to see hard work recognized." Sophie and Claire chimed in enthusiastically. "Wow, Harper, that's amazing. No surprise there, you've always been so capable." Jake laughed again. "Look at us today, what a powerhouse squad." Harper took a sip of her coffee, then casually turned to Madison. "And you, Mad, what's your proudest accomplishment this year?" Madison took a deep breath. All eyes were on her now, warm and expectant. She smiled, voice slightly trembling but filled with confidence. "I think the thing I'm most proud of this year is accomplishing something I once thought impossible. I've lost over 40 pounds, and I did it all through healthy methods." Sophie immediately clapped her hands. "That's incredible. Mad, you're such an inspiration." Claire tilted her head, eyes sparkling. "I still remember how insecure you used to be. Seeing you now, you truly shine." Jake nodded enthusiastically. "At this rate, next year we all need to go on a fitness challenge together." Laughter and congratulatory words filled the table, warming Madison's heart. She felt each approving glance and round of applause as a reward for months of sweat, persistence, and the battles she had fought within herself in that moment. Madison realized this was more than just a victory over her appearance. It was a triumph of willpower and self-respect, a reward for reclaiming her confidence and dignity through hard-fought determination. The laughter that had filled the cafe moments ago seemed to evaporate instantly. The warm, cozy atmosphere that always made Madison feel at ease was suddenly pierced by a chill. Only the low hum of the espresso machine and the faint clink of cups echoed in the space between them. Harper leaned back in her chair, eyes narrowing slightly, as if she were measuring Madison from head to toe. Her fingers idly twisted the silver spoon in her cup, moving slowly, deliberately, but there was an undercurrent of tension and irritation in the gesture. Losing weight that fast? Harper's voice was slow and deliberate, each word dripping with accusation. "There's no way you did it all naturally. Surgery, right?" The comment landed like a hammer blow. Madison felt a jolt in her chest, as if the air had suddenly thickened around her. The cheerful energy of the room drained away, replaced by an uncomfortable silence. Sophie's brow furrowed. Claire glanced nervously at Madison, and Jake leaned slightly forward, his expression a mix of shock and disbelief, ready to step in if things escalated. Madison blinked, trying to steady her breathing. Harper's words were sharper than any insult she had endured before, cutting through the joy she had nurtured for months. Her chest felt heavy, and yet she forced herself to stay calm, to hold on to the composure she had built through all the months of hard work. Harper's lips curved in a small, disdainful smirk. Seeing the unease her words caused, she leaned slightly forward, letting her next comment land with even more weight. Don't pretend it's about your health. Who's going to believe you did this just to be healthy? Her voice carried a bitter edge, a mix of envy and contempt. It's clear you did all of this to look better, to attract some rich boyfriend. Losing weight this fast naturally. Yeah, right. Who's buying that story? The tension thickened. The cafe's soft background music now felt like a cruel contrast to the storm brewing at the table. Jake's hands clenched slightly on the edge of the table, ready to defend Madison, but she raised a hand subtly, signaling him to pause. Madison's mind raced, hurt and disbelief battling for dominance. Every syllable from Harper felt like a fresh blow, reopening old wounds, memories of ridicule, whispers, and laughter that had once made her feel invisible and unworthy. Madison inhaled slowly, grounding herself. When she spoke, her voice was steady, calm, yet filled with quiet conviction. Harper, I didn't have surgery. This is all from months of diet and exercise. Every meal, every workout, meticulously planned and consistent. I did this to be healthier, to feel confident, not to impress anyone, not for anyone else but myself. Harper crossed her arms and leaned back, eyes sharp, her lips pressing into a thin line as though Madison's explanation irritated her even more. Sure. That sounds great, Harper replied sarcastically. But do you really think we're that gullible? Nobody loses weight that fast without some kind of help. Don't romanticize your story, Madison. People do it for attention, to hear compliments, not for health. Sophie pressed her lips tightly together, biting back words, while Claire let out a soft, uncertain breath. Jake's jaw clenched, his discomfort clear. Madison's hand trembled slightly on her lap, but she refused to let her posture or expression betray the inner turmoil. Every word Harper spoke dug deeper, evoking not only disbelief, but memories of the loneliness and shame she had carried. Of nights spent questioning her worth, Madison's voice became firmer, more resolute, even as her heart ached. Harper, I don't need you or anyone to believe me. What matters is that I know this is real. I've fought with myself every single day to get here. That's enough for me, no matter what anyone else thinks. Harper let out a short, dismissive laugh, shaking her head as though Madison's conviction annoyed her. Come on, Mad, she sneered. Don't act all high and mighty. Wanting to look good isn't bad, but don't pretend it's just for health. We all know the truth, you did this for attention, not wellness. Her words lingered like a heavy fog, pressing down on everyone at the table. Even the warm aroma of coffee, usually comforting, couldn't soften the tension. Madison sat still, taking a slow, deep breath, feeling the sting of betrayal and confusion. She had imagined this reunion so differently, full of smiles, warmth, and shared celebration, but now, in the very moment she had anticipated for months, she felt isolated and misunderstood. The joy she had carried into the cafe seemed to shrink under the weight of Harper's scrutiny, leaving Madison to wrestle quietly with both her disappointment and the painful memory of old insecurities that had once held her captive. The cafe. once filled with the hum of friendly chatter and the comforting aroma of coffee and pastries, had shifted into a tense, almost suffocating atmosphere. Every sound, the clink of a spoon against a cup, the shuffle of a chair, seemed amplified, echoing like a drumbeat in the thick silence. Madison could feel the weight of Harper's words pressing down on her chest, and for a moment, she wondered if she had imagined the warm welcome she had been so excited about. Jake was the first to break the silence. He slammed his cup on the table, the impact punctuating his words with undeniable force. "Harper, that's completely out of line. Don't ever dismiss someone else's hard work like that. Madison has been grinding day in and day out for months. No one, not you, not anyone, has the right to belittle her effort." Harper blinked, a flicker of surprise crossing her face, but quickly masked it with a smirk. She leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, chin tilted up slightly, her tone dripping with sarcasm, out of line. "I'm just speaking the truth. Losing over 40 pounds and claiming it's all from diet and exercise. Come on, sounds even more fake than some of those crazy weight loss commercials online." Sophie's patience snapped. Her eyes blazed with fury as she leaned forward, voice rising. "Harper, do you even understand what Madison has gone through? Every meal she meticulously planned, every workout she pushed herself through, every day fighting her own doubts and fears. And you sit there mocking her. Do you know how brave that is?" Claire joined in, her hands gripping the edge of the table, voice shaking slightly but firm. "You're being selfish, Harper. You should have been the first one cheering for her. Instead, you turned her achievement into a joke. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not real." Harper let out a derisive laugh, leaning back further as if to assert dominance, eyes flicking around the group with a challenge. "Oh, sorry, I didn't applaud on cue. But seriously, do you actually believe anyone can lose that much weight just by eating healthy? Don't fool yourselves. Anyone who does it is clearly chasing looks to snag a rich boyfriend. Nothing noble about it." The cafe seemed to shrink around them, the normally warm lighting now casting harsh shadows on Harper's smug expression. Jake's jaw tightened, and his voice boomed, cutting through the tension. "That's enough, Harper. You've gone way too far. This isn't honest, it's insulting and cruel." Sophie squeezed Madison's hand tightly, her knuckles white, cheeks flushed with anger. "Come on, Mad, you don't need to sit here and take any more of this. She's not worth your energy." Claire, her tone icy, threw on her jacket. "Harper, if you can't respect your friend's effort, then there's no reason for us to stay here. We're leaving." Harper opened her mouth to protest, her voice rising with indignation, but the group was already moving. Jake gently guided Madison to stand first, his hand on her shoulder a comforting anchor. Sophie and Claire flanked her on either side, forming an unspoken shield against Harper's venomous words. Madison paused at the door, glancing back. Harper's eyes were a storm of resentment, envy, and confusion, but Madison kept her lips sealed. Her heart ached at the betrayal of someone she had once trusted implicitly, but the warmth radiating from Jake, Sophie, and Claire made her feet steady. She could lean on them now. They had reminded her of what real friendship felt like, as the soft chime of the cafe door marked their exit. Madison felt a mix of sorrow and relief. Harper remained seated, alone at the table, her arms crossed defensively, a faint tremor in her jaw betraying her calm exterior. The cheerful reunion Madison had dreamed of had ended in fractures and tension. Yet it also revealed an undeniable truth. Loyalty, respect, and genuine care were not measured by years of friendship alone, but by the way people celebrated or undermined each other in the moments that mattered most. Madison stepped out into the cool night, the crisp air filling her lungs. She felt a flicker of pride, tinged with lingering hurt, knowing she had survived the storm intact. That night, she realized that while people's words could wound deeply, the support of those who truly valued her would always act as a healing force, a reminder of her worth and the battles she had fought to reclaim it. The apartment was quiet, wrapped in the warm, amber glow of the lamps. Madison closed the door behind her, the soft click of the lock sounding unusually loud in the stillness. Outside, the city's hum lingered faintly, but inside, the silence pressed down on her chest like a heavy weight. The laughter, chatter, and clinking cups of the evening seemed like a distant memory, replaced now by a void that made her feel both hollow and exposed. She set her bag down carefully on the chair, each movement deliberate, as if trying to ground herself in the familiar. With slow, measured steps, she approached her bedroom. The large mirror reflected her the woman she had become over the past year. Her new dress clung gracefully to her figure, showcasing the results of countless hours of effort, more than 40 pounds lost. Each curve and line a testament to months of discipline, sweat, and determination. Yet, instead of the pride and elation she had anticipated, her reflection revealed only the deep ache in her eyes. A faint tremor ran through her lips. Betraying the storm inside, Madison ran her fingers over the smooth glass, memories spilling over her like an unstoppable tide. She remembered mornings she dragged herself out of bed before sunrise to run until her legs burned and her lungs screamed. She remembered nights meticulously measuring portions, counting calories, and calculating every bite. She remembered the lonely evenings, curled under her blankets, tears streaming silently as she questioned if all this effort would ever amount to anything. These were her victories, her battles, her sacred rituals of self-transformation. And yet, just a few cutting words from Harper had the power to make it all feel insignificant, as though her journey could be dismissed with a shrug. Harper. Why did it have to be you? Madison thought, her mind drifting to the Harper of years past, the Harper who had always been her shield, the friend who had defended her when others mocked her weight, the one who had whispered encouragement when Madison felt like shrinking into herself, the one who had made her feel seen, valued, and protected. Harper had been the calm in the storm, the person she could lean on. But tonight, that same person had transformed into a source of pain, wielding judgment like a weapon, echoing the cruel words Madison had spent years trying to escape. Sitting down on the edge of the bed, Madison pressed her palms against her face, trying to block out the sting of betrayal. Her chest felt tight, each breath a struggle as the mix of hurt, confusion, and disbelief churned within her. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, blurring the reflection of the determined woman she had fought to become. She whispered to herself, almost inaudibly, "What did I do wrong?" Every fiber of her being wanted to shout, to demand answers, but there were none to give. She had worked tirelessly, maintained strict discipline, never flaunted her achievements, and never belittled others. She had done everything right, yet Harper had looked upon her triumph with suspicion, cynicism, and thinly veiled envy. The betrayal cut deeper than Madison expected, twisting her pride into a knot of pain. Madison leaned back against the wall, letting herself sink slowly to the floor, knees drawn close to her chest. She closed her eyes and felt the sting of tears, the pounding of her heart, the ache of disbelief. The quiet of the apartment amplified every thought, the injustice, the shock, the confusion. It was a solitude she hadn't anticipated, a reminder that even in triumph, one could feel utterly alone. She thought about the journey that had brought her hither long, grueling mornings, the endless nights of self-doubt, the tiny victories that had felt monumental at the time. She realized that losing the weight had been just one battle. The more difficult war was learning to stand strong in the face of criticism, betrayal, and misunderstanding, even from those who had once been closest to her heart. A soft, shuddering sigh escaped Madison's lips, mingling with the gentle hum of the city beyond her window. She tilted her head back against the wall, staring at the ceiling, trying to absorb the weight of the night. Somewhere deep inside, a spark of resilience remained. She knew she hadn't done anything wrong. She had worked for herself, fought for herself, and earned this moment of self-actualization. The hurt inflicted by Harper was real, yes, but it would not define her. For the first time that night, Madison allowed herself to acknowledge the complexity of her feelings: anger, sorrow, disbelief, and even a flicker of empathy. She knew healing would take time. She knew forgiveness wasn't immediate, but she also knew that the journey she had embarked upon, one of self-love and perseverance, was hers alone, untouchable by anyone else's judgment. As the minutes stretched into hours, Madison leaned back, letting her tears fall freely now, not in shame but in release. The reflection in the mirror no longer felt like a stranger. She was still the girl who had suffered, yes, but also the woman who had conquered, who had endured, who had transformed her pain into power. And though the betrayal of a friend had cast a shadow over her evening, Madison understood, with a quiet certainty, that she had the strength to face the night and every challenge beyond with grace, resilience, and unwavering self-worth. The soft hum of the city, the faint glow of the streetlights filtering through her window, and the gentle silence of her apartment offered her one thing: space. Space to feel, to process, to breathe, and to remind herself that her journey, her effort, and her triumph were hers alone, and no one could take that away. The night was quiet in Madison's apartment. The city beyond the window hummed softly, a distant symphony of traffic lights blinking, car engines idling, and the occasional faint laughter from streets below. Inside, the soft yellow glow of a bedside lamp was off, leaving only the bluish, flickering light from her phone screen to illuminate her room. Madison lay on her bed, her body stretched out but tense, her mind unwilling to let her rest. She stared at the ceiling, her thoughts spinning in circles. Harper's words from earlier still rang in her ears. "You only did this to look better, to get a rich boyfriend." No one believes that was healthy. Each syllable felt like a weight pressing down on her chest, squeezing tightly, making it hard to breathe. Madison could still hear the echo of Harper's cold, deliberate voice, slicing through the warmth and excitement that had filled the coffee shop just hours ago. She pressed the pillow to her face, willing herself to let out a sob. But no sound came, just the heavy rhythm of her heartbeat pounding in her ears. After a few minutes, her phone buzzed. The screen lit up with a message notification, breaking the oppressive silence. Madison reached for it with slightly trembling hands, almost afraid to see who it was. It was Sophie. "You did amazing, Maudie. Don't let Harper's words bring you down." We've seen all your hard work every single day. No one has the right to take that away from you." Madison's eyes welled up instantly. She blinked rapidly, trying to hold back the flood, but the warmth of Sophie's words penetrated the ache in her chest. These were not empty compliments or casual pleasantries. They were affirmations of everything Madison had endured. All the sweat, sore muscles, and lonely mornings when she forced herself to keep running even though her legs screamed in protest. She let herself breathe a little, feeling a faint, fragile connection to someone who truly understood, even from miles away. Before she could reply, another notification appeared. "Claire, this time, we're genuinely proud of you. Losing 40 pounds in a healthy way isn't something everyone can do. What you've done is incredible, and your effort is undeniable, especially to those who truly care about you." Madison felt a lump rise in her throat. She set the phone aside for a moment and closed her eyes, letting the tears roll freely this time. Not the angry, frustrated tears of earlier, but the soft, cleansing kind that spoke of release, of recognition, and of being seen. She could almost feel Claire's presence beside her, the gentle reassurance in the words, the warmth that said, "I see you, I see your struggle, I see your victory." Her mind drifted back to the months she had spent rebuilding herself. She remembered the first week when she had stepped onto the treadmill, legs trembling, lungs burning, thinking maybe she wouldn't even last 5 minutes. She remembered the strict meal plans she had set for herself, tracking every calorie, every ounce of food, every glass of water. She remembered the nights she cried herself to sleep because the progress was slow, because the cravings were overwhelming, because she feared she would never be good enough, thin enough, worthy enough. And yet, here she was, now her reflection in the bedroom mirror earlier that evening had shown her a woman transformed, not just physically, but in strength, resilience, and confidence. Another buzz pulled her from the reverie. This time, it was Jake. "Marty, don't let one person's bitterness make you question yourself. You did something most people only dream about. We believe in you, and we're proud of you." A small smile tugged at Madison's lips. Jake had always been the jokester of the group, the one who could make anyone laugh, even in tense moments. But his words carried weight. They were genuine, honest, and fiercely supportive. She could hear his voice in her mind, teasing but encouraging, reminding her that she wasn't alone in her victories or in her struggles. Madison sat up slowly, hugging her knees to her chest. Her phone rested on her lap, glowing softly. Each new message was a thread of warmth, weaving its way into the chilly emptiness left by Harper's harsh words. She thought about the time when Harper had first been her closest ally, the one who had always stepped in when someone mocked Madison's weight, the one who had made her feel safe in classrooms, at parties, and even on casual walks in the park. That Harper the protector, the friend, was still in there somewhere, Madison knew. But tonight, she felt like that friend had disappeared, replaced by someone harsh, jealous, and inexplicably critical. More messages came in Sophie, sending heart emojis. Claire sharing a little memory about the first time Madison had joined them on a group hike, and Jake teasing about how Madison would make all of them look bad next summer. Madison laughed softly through her tears. Even small humor, light and silly, helped melt the lingering pain. It reminded her that beyond Harper's sting, there were people who truly celebrated her not for how she looked, but for the dedication, perseverance, and courage she had shown. Madison's mind wandered to the contrast between those supportive messages and Harper's words. Harper had tried to define Madison's accomplishments in her own narrative, dismissing months of effort as trivial, attributing her hard-earned results to vanity or ulterior motives. But Madison realized something vital in that moment. One person's opinion, no matter how close, could not invalidate the truth she knew about herself. She had worked tirelessly, sacrificed comfort, and faced moments of self-doubt to get to where she was. And that was real, measurable, undeniable. The hours passed quietly. Madison read each message multiple times, savoring the words, allowing them to settle in her heart. With each read, the ache from earlier began to dull. She realized she didn't need to argue or defend herself anymore. The voices of her true friends had created a shield around her heart, one she could retreat behind until she felt ready to face Harper's criticism without being wounded. She typed a quick reply to Sophie and Claire. "Thank you, guys. I don't know what I'd do without you. Your messages mean more than you know." Then to Jake, "You're right. I won't let one person make me doubt myself. Love you guys." No immediate response came, and Madison felt a strange sense of relief. It was enough for now. She didn't need validation from Harper to feel whole. She could rest in the knowledge that her effort had been seen and appreciated by those who genuinely cared. Leaning back against her pillows, Madison closed her eyes and thought about the journey that had led her here. The long runs in the early mornings when the city was still quiet, the countless salads and meticulously portioned meals, the afternoons spent at the gym pushing herself to exhaustion, and the quiet moments of self-reflection when she confronted her fears and insecurities had. Each of these moments had built her into the person she was now, and each of those moments mattered more than any dismissive comment. For the first time in hours, Madison felt her chest loosen. A subtle warmth filled her, like sunlight creeping through a window on a chilly morning. Her body relaxed, her breathing became steadier, and for a brief moment, she allowed herself to imagine tomorrow not as a continuation of the hurt, but as a day to celebrate her own resilience, even with Harper's words still lingering somewhere in the background. Madison realized she had reclaimed her power. She had learned that her worth wasn't dictated by someone else's jealousy or criticism. She had learned that strength was built quietly, day by day, in the small, often unnoticed victories. And she had learned that real friends, those who truly cared, would always see and honor that effort, even when others chose to disregard it. She whispered to herself softly, almost as if saying it aloud could cement the truth in her bones. "I did this for me, and that is enough." The phone buzzed one last time that night. Madison opened it, expecting another message from her friends. Instead, it was silent, no notification, just the soft glow of the screen fading as she set it down. She tucked herself under the blanket, feeling a newfound stillness, the kind that comes after stormy waves begin to settle. Tears still lingered at the corners of her eyes, but they were now the kind that spoke of healing rather than despair. As she drifted towards sleep, Madison carried a quiet certainty in her heart. The journey ahead would still have challenges. Harper's words and actions might resurface in memory, causing occasional pangs of sadness or frustration. But she knew this. She had a support system that was real, tangible, and steadfast. She had proven to herself that she could endure, persist, and triumph. And most importantly, she had learned that her worth was hers to define, not anyone else's to judge. That night, in the soft blue glow of the city outside her window, Madison finally felt a measure of peace. A peace born not from vindication, not from others' recognition, but from the quiet, steadfast knowledge that she had given her best, lived her truth, and emerged stronger on the other side. While Madison lay quietly on her bed, still struggling to shake off the sting of Harper's words, Harper's own phone kept lighting up relentlessly. Unlike the usual friendly notifications, these messages were sharp, pointed, and impossible to ignore. They were from the group, and each one carried the weight of disapproval that made Harper's chest tighten. The first message came from Sophie, every word deliberate and firm. "Harper, you went way too far. You didn't just dismiss Madison's efforts, you made the entire meetup uncomfortable. You need to understand how much you hurt her." Harper's fingers froze over the screen. Her heart raced as she read and reread Sophie's words, a sinking feeling spreading through her. Before she could process it, another notification appeared. Claire's message followed, tinged with disappointment. "I can't believe you said those things. Madison has been strong and persistent to achieve what she has. How could you belittle all her hard work?" Finally, Jake sent a short but heavy message. "That's not how a true friend treats someone they care about. You really crossed the line." Harper sank into her chair, her phone trembling in her hands. Each notification landed like a punch, forcing her to confront the harsh truth she had been avoiding. The silence of her apartment felt suffocating as she reread each message, her mind spinning through the events of that tense evening. Days passed since the emotionally charged meet. The group, perhaps frustrated but still caring, maintained a cautious silence toward Harper, but they didn't neglect Madison. They invited her out separately, determined to lift her spirits. Madison agreed, and that afternoon was filled with laughter, shared jokes, and playful challenges. She felt the warmth of friendship rekindled as she laughed freely, her joy captured in dozens of candid photos. Friends' arms draped around shoulders, playful nudges, and inside jokes filled the air. The pictures soon made their way into the group chat. Buzzing Harper's phone once more, scrolling through the photos, Harper's stomach sank. Madison was glowing, genuinely happy, and surrounded by friends who adored and supported her. A pang of guilt, sharp and insistent, gripped Harper's chest. The reality of what she had done, the harsh words, the sneering remarks hit her like ice water. She realized she had hurt not just anyone, but Madison, the friend she had once cherished above all. Harper sat in silence for a long moment, fingers hovering over her phone. She felt a confusing mix of shame, regret, and longing. The jealousy that had fueled her cruel words was nothing compared to the pain she now felt, seeing Madison's happiness without her. Each smiling face, each unguarded laugh in those photos, made the contrast painfully clear. She had pushed away someone she truly valued that night. After pacing and wrestling with her emotions, Harper finally opened a chat with Madison. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling, as she typed and deleted lines repeatedly, searching for the right words. Finally, she pressed send. "Marty, I'm really sorry for everything. Seeing you happy with everyone the past few days made me realize just how wrong I was. I've been struggling with my own insecurities about my weight, and the breakup hurt me deeply. When I saw you looking confident and beautiful, I got jealous and lost control. I said things that hurt you, and I truly regret it. I'm not expecting forgiveness right now. I just wanted you to know that I'm sincerely sorry." Madison read the message slowly, her heart tightening as she absorbed Harper's words. She felt the raw honesty behind them, the vulnerability, the regret, the fear of having lost something precious. She could empathize with Harper's struggle with self-image and the pain of heartbreak. The message reminded her that Harper was human, flawed, and hurt, and that her cruelty had come from a place of insecurity rather than malice. Yet Madison's own heart was still tender. The sting from Harper's previous words hadn't faded. It was too soon for forgiveness. She placed the phone down, pressing her hands to her knees, inhaling deeply to steady herself. She understood Harper's remorse. She felt it. But understanding did not erase the pain or instantly repair the rift. In that quiet room, Madison recognized a vital truth. Empathy and forgiveness are not the same. One could feel compassion for someone while still needing time to heal, while still honoring one's own hurt. She allowed herself that space, breathing through the mixture of sorrow, relief, and cautious hope that lingered in her chest. For the first time in days, Madison felt a sense of clarity amidst the emotional fog. She realized that this moment, this pause, was not about holding a grudge, but about giving herself the chance to rebuild her sense of safety and trust. Harper's apology was sincere, yes, but Madison's own boundaries and feelings were valid. Healing was not instantaneous, and friendship sometimes required patience, reflection, and emotional courage. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "I hear you, Harper. I feel you, but I need time." Setting the phone aside, Madison leaned back against the pillows, letting the soft night embrace her. The pain was still there, but now it was tempered by perspective, by the understanding that remorse could exist alongside hurt. And in that delicate balance, Madison found a quiet resilience, the knowledge that she could hold her own worth and her own truth. Even when others faltered, the night stretched on, filled with stillness and reflection. Madison did not reply immediately, but she didn't feel the same ache of betrayal that had consumed her hours ago. Instead, there was room for empathy, room for consideration, and the gentle awareness that sometimes the path to reconciliation required patience, both from those who erred and those who were wounded. For Madison, this was not the conclusion of the story, but an essential chapter in learning that friendship, trust, and self-respect could coexist, even in the wake of hurt. Harper's apology had opened a door, but Madison would step through it in her own time, guided by her own strength and wisdom. And in that moment, as the city lights shimmered softly outside her window, Madison felt the faint stirrings of hope that one day, when the wounds had softened, the laughter she shared with Harper might be whole again. But for now, she would honor her own pace, and that too was a victory. Madison sat quietly on the edge of her bed, the soft hum of the city outside barely reaching the stillness of her apartment. The glow from her phone was the only light, casting faint shadows across the walls. Her thoughts circled endlessly around Harper's words at the cafe, the sharpness of them, the sting of betrayal. Her chest felt heavy, a mix of hurt, disbelief, and confusion swirling together in a knot she couldn't untangle. Her fingers lingered over the phone, hesitant. She knew Harper was capable of kindness, of the same warmth that had protected Madison in the past. Yet the memory of those cruel words was raw. Could she trust Harper again? Could their friendship survive this? Madison's heart ached with uncertainty, the questions looping endlessly. Finally, she opened the chat with Harper, taking a deep breath to steady herself. Each word she typed was deliberate, weighted with care. "Harper, I know you're genuinely sorry and that you've been struggling with a lot lately. I understand the insecurities and frustrations that have made you lash out. I can empathize with what you've been feeling, and I can see that it's led you to hurt me. But I can't accept your apology fully right now. I need time to process everything, to heal, to let the hurt settle. She reread the message, feeling both the sting of her own honesty and the compassion she extended to Harper. Pressing send, she allowed herself a slow exhale, the first in hours that didn't carry tension. Patience, she reminded herself, was the only way forward if she wanted this friendship to survive. Minutes later, Harper's reply appeared. I understand, Madison. I won't push you to forgive me right away. I know I hurt you deeply, and I regret everything I said and did. I hope that one day we can get back to how we were, laughing, joking, sharing everything. I'll do my best to prove you can trust me again. I'll wait, and I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust back. Madison felt a warmth spread through her chest. For the first time in days, the tension eased slightly. Harper's words carried an undeniable sincerity, an acknowledgement of guilt and a willingness to make amends. While the hurt was still there, the gesture itself was a small step toward mending their bond. She typed back, choosing her words carefully, letting honesty guide her. I know you're trying, Harper. I appreciate your honesty and the effort you're making. Even though I can't fully forgive you now, I hope that we can start to heal, little by little. Within moments, Harper responded, her message filled with hope and humility. Thank you, Madison. I'll wait and won't do anything to hurt you again. I hope that one day soon we can laugh together like we used to, with no distance between us. I'll work hard to earn your trust back. Madison set her phone down and looked out at the city lights reflected in the window. The world seemed calm, almost serene, and for the first time in days, she felt a sense of relief. Things weren't fixed, not yet, but both of them were trying. The first flicker of hope had appeared, a reminder that empathy, patience, and understanding could lay the foundation for healing even the deepest wounds. For Madison, this was a lesson in boundaries and compassion. She realized she could feel empathy for Harper without dismissing her own hurt. She could acknowledge Harper's struggles and still honor her own feelings. The path to reconciliation would be long, but this night marked the start of something possible, a bridge being built, plank by plank, between two friends who had been wounded but still cared. The next morning, Madison sat by the window, a steaming cup of coffee warming her hands. The city outside was alive, but inside she felt calm and collected for the first time in days. The past nights of turmoil, the sharp words and judgmental glances seemed to exist in a distant echo. They no longer defined her. She took a slow sip of coffee, letting the warmth seep into her chest. The thought crossed her mind. Confidence was not something given by others, it was built through action, discipline, and self. Her 40-pound weight loss was more than a number. It was evidence of her grit, her resilience, and her commitment to herself. Every morning jog, every carefully measured meal, every sweat-soaked evening at the gym had built not just a stronger body, but a stronger mind. Madison smiled, letting herself reflect on the journey she had undertaken. The pain of Harper's words was real, but so was the strength she had cultivated through months of dedication. She didn't need validation from anyone else to confirm her worth. Her self-respect, her determination, and her courage were her own, and that was more than enough. She whispered to herself, I don't have to prove anything to anyone. I just need to do my best for myself. I need to honor my own journey. Rising from her chair, Madison stretched, feeling the rhythm of her heartbeat and the vitality in every breath. She knew there would be challenges ahead. skepticism from strangers, moments of doubt, perhaps even further conflicts. But now, she had a shield forged from months of hard work and self. She would not let outside voices dictate her sense of self. Madison reflected on the deeper lesson. Do not allow judgment, criticism, or negative words to hold you back. Believe in your own power, trust your journey, and take pride in your progress. Every effort, every decision to choose the path of self-care, every victory, no matter how small, was meaningful. She looked at her reflection in the window, sunlight beginning to filter into the room. Her eyes glimmered with determination. Her smile wasn't just about appearance, it was about strength, resilience, and self-appreciation. Madison had discovered the most important truth of all. True confidence comes from loving and respecting yourself, even in the face of doubt, criticism, and setbacks. She stood tall, breathing deeply, ready to face the world again. The words of Harper, the judgment of others, even her own lingering insecurities, they were no longer chains holding her down. They were reminders of the obstacles she had overcome and the lessons she had learned. Her journey of self-discovery and self-love was far from over, but Madison felt ready to continue walking it. Empowered by the knowledge that she could trust herself, rely on her own strength, and build her life on her own terms. The morning light filled the room, illuminating Madison's face as her eyes reflected quiet strength and a resilient spirit. She had found her power, the ability to honor herself, stand tall, and continue forward with courage, compassion, and self-confidence. Asterisk.